Ohana means getting the full college experience. Ohana means leaving everything behind and unwillingly chase your dreams. Ohana means nothing. You get
nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
Ohana means low effort, maximum profit.
There. You know, you wreck everything you touch. Why not try and make something for a change?
It's Lilo and Stitch's turn to get the ongoing renewing bastardization treatment from a beloved Disney classic, also known as Disney live-action remake. I've heard they wanted to simply dump this movie on Disney+, as they usually do with non-musical remakes. But after some test screenings, the reception was apparently wildly positive, so they changed their minds to a theatrical release, as if that was ever an option. I mean, it looks as ugly as a direct-to-streaming movie of theirs, but Stitch is one of their most marketable merchandising products, and it only fills their pockets more if they shit another movie out, to sell more products with his face slapped on it. A little adorable alien cutie which gets marketed beyond fatigue. Where have we seen that before? Usually I ignore these audiovisual products, but this time it became personal to me. The original movie connects with me to this day. It's perfect in everything it tries to achieve. It's funny, it features real character struggles and hits the feels very hard. Disney has the best sister relationship here in any of their films. The creators wanted the warmth of earlier Disney movies, so they used watercolor animation for the backgrounds like in Snow White and Dumbo. A knowledge which has been lost within their animation department, so they had to be taught again by animators of Snow White. But the newest version is an insult to the original, and the people that worked on it had no understanding what worked so well in the first place or didn't care that much.
But the new one has to be better. It's a real movie after all. Animation can't be taken that seriously. It's for kids, don't you understand?
Oh right, I forgot. Children don't deserve quality and emotionally intelligent storytelling. They deserve slop like this, they had it coming anyway. Let's hop on to the changes. One perfect movie with its current soulless cash grab counterpart. Let me share some wisdom with you. It feels like someone copying the homework from an A grader, changing bits here and there, so the teacher won't notice, but it's obvious to the teacher the tasks were not understood. Already with the opening do we see a change. The OG movie prepared us for the sci-fi that's about to come and gave us a creative use of the logo, segueing into the situation at hand. The remake, on the other hand, shows how big of a brand Disney is and tells us it's Tuesday for some reason. At the Galactic Council headquarters is now Captain Gantu's ship. This is not the place where the grand jury came together to speak about Jumba. Granted, I cannot know, but if you watch the original, we didn't see it from the outside where the court was being held. Captain Gantu was ordered to escort 626 as a prisoner and banish him to an asteroid. After the council, we don't see him and the Grand Councilwoman in the same place anymore for the prologue, which implies they are not on the same ship at the moment of 626's escape. Which makes sense, because why should one ship serve as a mothership of a fleet, be a parliament for politicians, and a prison? These are separate places, doesn't make any sense otherwise, does it? So just keep Gantu's ship to him and the council resides wherever they are. Oh, they erased Captain Gantu completely from the movie? Okay, I guess the CGI for him would be too expensive to make, but that could mean the other alien CGI is more refined.
Ugly motherfucker.
In the original, we get exposition from Gantu as he is reading out for which crime Jumba has to stand up against. We then get the reveal of Experiment 626. In the remake, we simply see 626 without any build-up, and then Jumba is brought forward to testify. I am no judge, but I think the accused is present to hear for which crimes he's going to be accused. At least that's what the original did. The accused comes first and then the evidence, not the other way around. Jumba had a mission from the council to examine some life forms, not creating one. In the original, he just acted on his own behalf without a mention of a mission. Jumba describes 626 and we see cutaway gags to learn what he says is the truth. The animated movie didn't do this. Why? Because they showed this through 626 Escape, where we see all his skills at play firsthand. The blue gremlin gets the chance to show there is something good in him and says the same naughty words as he did in the original.
I planned all of Dini's freak-off parties!
Naughty!
Oddly, some reactions come with a lag, but the editing in general feels somewhat off. The remake rushes through the opening, probably to not further stretch the budget of the CGI. Jumba looks very disinterested about his upcoming fate, in no way concerned. 626 immediately gets taken away into his cell, like in one movement. He He gets a caller for a reason currently unbeknownst to us. Please bear this in mind. Now in the original we see how the guns are programmed to his genetic code. In the remake, however, we are simply told and they seem to already be matched to his DNA at his arrival. This is the point where they hurry even faster through the opening. I don't know what they're afraid of. In the animated movie, 626 tries something out and causes gunfire, which is reported by the way. He sees a chance to escape, so he does. We see the danger coming from him and his abilities like fast thinking, strength and resourcefulness, all through his escape. They take their time to show step by step how he operates. How does the remake handle this? 626 aims straight for the head of the guard, gunfire ensues, and we cut right away to the Grand Councilwoman asking her crew,
Where is he? Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Okay, this line is originally used only after the fact where 626 already hyperjumped, but Gantu is not there. So she has to step in for his role. In about 10 seconds is 626 flying away with the red police spaceship. Yes, that joke gets recycled. How does he reach the spaceship? He simply does. Shut your brain off and enjoy the ride. Originally 626 gets in a fight and his ship gets damaged in the process. Thus he decides to hyperjump as a last resort, but in the new version he just takes hyperjump as his very first option. Does this really make a difference? Well, because of the hyperjump with the damaged ship, he can't course correct and the aliens are able to calculate where he will crash. In the new movie we later see him vibing for I don't know how much hours in his ship. He gets multiple warnings and reacts like his alarm clock goes off. That is to say, he wrecks a good amount of his panel within the ship, just because he gets pissed off by a sound which he shouldn't ignore. And you tell me the Galactic Federation foresaw that? He's not traveling at full speed anymore and could have steered any way but decided against it, because the plot demands so. He had the chance to change course, but would have made the whole calculation of the alien crew redundant, that he would crash land on the Hawaiian Isle on Earth. You can't tell me. They took his temper in equation and knew he would ignore his chances and be so short-tempered and stupid to cause his ship to crash. I mean, he's smarter than 100 supercomputers or not? But we need an explanation why the super intelligent creature has to crash land exactly where they expect him to, which wouldn't have been a problem if they followed the source material. Anyway. In the superior version, the Grand Councilwoman demands an expert for Earth and reacts to the information that Earth is a water plant very stoically with the following line.
He won't survive in water. His molecular density is too great.
Every one of her underlings understands, and as they see where he is going to land, she reacts as if she already suspected it to not be so easy. The inferior version has her explaining to the whole crew why he wouldn't survive in water, although even a kid could deduce it from their reaction that water would mean 626 and then her sheer fucking hubris gets retaliated instantly as she recognizes where he is going to crash. We then witness another stupid tweak of the better movie. Jumba walks by because for some reason prisoners are guided through the control room. Seems not contrived in the slightest. Jumba comes up with the idea to get 626 back instead of the Grand Councilwoman and then Pleakley arrives for no reason at all. Remember in the animated one she demanded an expert as soon as they knew which planet it would be. Before he arrived the other aforementioned things happened. But here he jumps out of the bushes as he hears they consider to pull a Death Star on Earth. Now Pleakley is an Earth superfan and is happily excited about his mission to accompany Jumba in capturing 626, unlike in the original where he's frightened about it. I found this Pleakley annoying from the get-go and boy does the creature design and CGI look atrocious. Jumba asks in the animated movie Pleakley on which pitiful planet his monster has been unleashed. Which makes sense for the character to ask here in the good one, because Pleakley knows and Jumba doesn't. But not in the mature version, where he is talking to himself just so we can hear his thoughts. That's the prologue, and comparing the runtime, the good one dedicates about 10 minutes to this portion, while the new one does a mere 6 minutes. So where does this movie expand if it's speeding through the intro? We will get to that. Next we are introduced to Lilo, along with the opening titles. The music in the original is diegetic, while in the new one it's non-diegetic. It's always intercut with the hula dance for a reason, not only to determine where we are, but also do we learn that's Lilo's destination and the cause for her hurry. She's on a public beach where she takes pictures with her camera and the running gag with the ice cream guy, who seems to be a tourist, is introduced. In the remake she comes out of the water and there's a random diving goggles POV shot, which is not extended upon or reused in any way later. The beach belongs to a hotel resort where Lilo sneaks in here and there. She chills at a whirlpool and some older dude asks if she's being permitted to be here. Strange question, mister. Do you only ask this so we have confirmation she isn't allowed to be here? We learn she is valuing animal lives and routinely lets chickens loose from some neighbor. She's doing so much stuff, no wonder she's late for her hula dance. To raise the stakes a bit more, the hula dance is not for practicing like in the first movie, but a full-blown performance before an audience, to which Nani is invited but also coming too late, because she has Chekhov's car, which is also a new addition to the story. Nani loses some booklet for her college before getting in the car. The first seed is planted there for a major change to the first movie. The car refuses to start. Lilo explains in both versions why she is wet, but the first one had better line delivery, pacing and conclusion. Her weirdness to other people is not embraced enough to an extent where we could understand why the other girls would avoid her. I can't shake the feeling of they are assuming everyone saw the original movie, so they hint at things but don't develop them properly in the new one. The other hula girls are showing off their friendship bracelets and Lilo reveals hers, which she made shortly before out of a fishing bait. That's a neat idea, but they sadly swapped this for the puppets and Lilo's homemade puppet Scrump. Speaking of, Scrump is delegated to an Easter egg and nothing more. She has no narrative purpose in here. Same for Lilo's hobby of taking photographs. The situation at the hula school escalates in the original because Lilo explains the fudge situation is called crazy by the little redhead and therefore Lilo attacks her. Then Lilo is explicitly told to wait on the porch for Nani, who is going to pick her up, but after Lilo apologizes to the redhead and fails to connect with the other girls, she is so hurt, she walks home alone. In live action, the redhead girl is now blonde and just mean for cringe's sake. Nani isn't there and the blonde shoves Lilo to the ground. Lilo has had enough and pushes her from the stage.
Oh, now it's a tragedy.
There is a whip hand transition between the cuts of Lilo preparing to push her and pushing her. An odd choice because it would have been fine without that. Lilo may be hurt in this version too, but she waits for Nani a long time and decides to walk home on her own, mainly because Nani is unreliable, which sets the change in sibling dynamics in motion. The animated movie introduces Nani here, which would have also worked for a recycled one, because the dots would have been there for us to connect. An empty chair and Lilo staring at it. Then she comes too late and searches for her. Why not? Because we have to see her noticing the college booklet and her car. Oh my god. The car? You see, the car is the key to all of this. And I don't mean just for empathy points to see why Nani comes too late, but it's essential for the climax of the movie.
What?
But all in due time. Back to Nani. She runs home from the hula school and almost gets run over by Cobra Bubbles. She calls him Stupid Head because she doesn't know him yet and continues to race home. Nani arrives and can't get into the house. She is stressed because the social worker could come at any moment. The remake doesn't utilize Nani's way home, but simply shows Nani arriving with her car. She drives now, you know, so no setup for Cobra Bubbles. Nani also can't get in and the social worker arrives to the scene. That's not Cobra Bubbles. It's the original voice actress for Nani, who you might remember from Wayne's World.
She's a bae!
On that occasion, did you know the girl who voiced Lilo is Samara from The Ring? That's a way to avoid being typecast. So, is Cobra Bubbles like Captain Gantu absent from the movie? In hindsight, it would have been better. His character has been split up into this social worker woman and he is now an active CIA agent, which makes him unfortunately not interesting in any way. They took an interesting character and made two uninteresting ones out of him. He contributes as good as nothing to the story in the new movie. He's so useless you wonder why they bothered to keep him in. Seriously, they could have cut him out of the whole ordeal and nothing of matter would change. Cobra Bubbles serves as a kind of antagonist to Nani in the original movie. Jumba, Pleakley and Gantu are also kind of antagonists, but none of them are straight out villains. They all just do their job. And in the end, when things sort out, we see another kind of side of every one of them. Cobra Bubbles is not interesting because he has a CIA background. No, he is compelling because he looks menacing under any circumstance, is professional, and is the ticking clock of the movie for Nani. She has to impress him, otherwise he takes Lilo away from her. Unlike his name would suggest, he is not here for shits and giggles. Despite his cutesy name, he is a presence that makes the whole situation more stressful. Nani feels that and we do it with her.
Heard you lost your job.
Why would you change that? Is it because a big muscular black guy as a social worker would not be realistic looking? Well, neither does the CGI in this movie. Nothing against the actor who portrays him in the movie, but he doesn't look convincing as a CIA agent. He is in this new movie not because of the family, but to hunt Stitch down, which he doesn't really do. He goes undercover, which means he works along the social worker and pulls a hair from Stitch to send it to the lab, and in the end has one stupid moment. He now contributes nothing of value to the story, just a shallow body snatcher from his original character. Anyway, Cobra Bubbles arrives in the animated movie and sees Nani with a hammer in her hand. They swap the hammer for a brick in the new iteration, because a little girl can't hammer so much nails in so little time. Fair enough. Nani finds a way in both versions, but it was more difficult in the animated one. The "do you leave your sister often home alone" joke works in the original movie, but doesn't land in the redoodle, because in the new one it's reversed. Nani is unaware of Lilo's drawing and the social worker notices it. The smoke detector joke is good though, but is only a rare occasion of expanding or tweaking something here the right way with an understanding of the situation. The following jokes are not bad, but just inferior to the original. The social worker sets up the ticking clock by giving Nani tasks like cleaning and ensure them both to fulfill till Friday. So that's why in the beginning we see it's Tuesday, ain't it? I don't know. Is it Tuesday on Earth? I can say. Let's see how the kids movie handled this.
In case you're wondering, this did not go well. You have 3 days to change my mind.
Simple as that, you see? The whole ticking clock until Friday of the remake gets also dropped along the way, by the way. Cobra Bubbles gives Lilo his card to call him if she ever is left alone again, which is a setup that pays off in the end. As soon as he leaves, Lilo knows without a word from Nani or a look, she's in deep trouble. This is a serious, realistic situation, but it's presented in an entertaining, relatable, funny way. The tone doesn't feel off. The music that's used is dramatic chase music matched to the movements, emotions and actions. So how does the remake fare in this scene? Well, they use some happy vibing Hawaiian SpongeBob music which didn't work at all for me. Do you remember how the scene ends? Nani and Lilo both scream into pillows, but unlike the animation where we see time passes and then the sisters reconcile, the live-action movie crowns the scene of screaming their anger out with a transition to a screaming goat.
Yeah, audiences love screaming goats, aren't they?
Then we are introduced to another new character. Nani's elderly neighbor, who may be David's mother or granny in this version. They are living together. The neighbor spouts some basic exposition, so we learn she put the college booklet into Nani's backpack and it ain't just a booklet, but an admission for university. She wants Nani to go chase her dreams of becoming a marine biologist and stop thinking about her parentless 6-year-old sister. Old lady neighbor asks if Nani ever asked Lilo what she wants, to which Nani responds,
No, cause she's 6, duh.
Hey Lilo, what do you think if I leave you shortly after our parents died to study abroad? I don't like this sudden responsibility even though you are the last piece of family I have. You have problems to fit in and I might be the only person who truly understands you. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. Nope. Peace out. That's ridiculous. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that, right? Old lady neighbor declares she's not only old lady neighbor, but we are Groot. I mean, Ohana. That's a choice. She says she will be there for her whenever she is in need. So why aren't you supporting Nani where she really needs it? Like with the tasks the social worker gave her. Do you want the sisters to split up? Are you planning everything to snatch Lilo away from Nani? Are you a devil in disguise? Again, another character who was split into 2 less interesting ones. The supporting role for Nani came from David in the OG. In this movie, the script gives him nothing to do with value, so he just hangs around. He was actually helpful in the first movie.
Nani, is there something I can do?
He tried to help Nani with a job, saw after an unsuccessful day how the family needed something uplifting via surfing, and in the end became Ohana with Nani, Lilo and Stitch. All of this has been altered or left out in the remake. They strip as good as everything away from him that makes him memorable. Now old lady neighbor has more agenda than him. Hell, they even give her something Nani was supposed to do, but we will come to that. Is it not realistic David would be living on his own? Why does he have to live with old lady neighbor? Just merge these two into David, this would streamline the whole ordeal. Now we get to see the sisters reconcile and the remake does a serviceable job. But after talking about sister stars, Lilo drops the line,
I like you better as a sister than a mom.
The Superior movie shows us how emotionally competent Nani is, while the remake turns this line into an offense to show us how incapable Nani is to care for Lilo. Also, they scrapped Lilo's hobby to photograph people. Why? They are still on the wall, but not referred to in any way. Anyway, Lilo notices a falling star and wants to make a wish. The remake again somehow hurries through this scene and won't commit to the gravity choke, for example. The music in the rehash is big, swelling and intense. while in the original it is calm and intimate. The importance of Nani overhearing Lilo's wish is not understood in the new one. The cause and effect are the following. Nani hears Lilo's prayer because that's what causes her to go with Lilo to the animal shelter to adopt a dog. You know, a friend who won't go away, an angel. That's how Lilo meets Stitch, because Nani decides after this incident she gets a friend in form of a dog for Lilo. It's a decision by Nani. It wouldn't be the same if it just happens at random, would it? Well... 626 arrives and there is even a bit of contrast of his portrayal to the hard cut from Lilo's lines.
The nicest angel you have.
In the animated movie, he's shown as a deranged monster, but that's a bit risky for Disney nowadays to portray their cash cow in a frightening light. So they dampen it to crazy but still cute. Also, why is he naked? In the first movie, he wears his spacesuit until it gets torn to shreds as he gets under the wheels of two massive trucks. But that also won't look nice and cute to depict this family-friendly creature violently going to the dogs. The crash supposedly destroyed the suit, and then 626 gets electrocuted by the collar on his neck. Are you fucking kidding me? They had the opportunity to stop 626 the whole time? Why on God's green earth has nobody used this as he flew from the Galactic Federation? Jumba uses the remote, which by the way has an incredible reach on their way to Earth without knowing the use of it and stupidly pushes the button wildly. But Pleakley knows what it's for and begs him to stop it. Jumba looks again emotionless as fuck. The collar remote is also not the same remote the alien guard had in 626 Cell, so no excuses there that it would have been lost in the chaos he caused. This whole Galactic Federation seems to be out of Futurama. Who's in charge here, Seb Brannigan?
The alien mothership is in orbit here. If we can hit that bullseye, the rest of the dominoes will fall like a house of cards. Checkmate.
626 tried to escape, but thankfully we have this electric collar and prevented further damage. Are you steady?
Why do you introduce this? It just opens a can of worms and then it's dropped immediately, like a lot of stuff in here, as already said. Shh, shh, shh. Don't think about it. Here's a new scene to enjoy because we surely can do better than the original. 626 crashes a wedding and it's really hastily cut together. A bridesmaid goes after 626 with a broom because that's what's always at hand at a wedding party, I guess. He leaves the scene and gets run over by one tiny tourist bus. Although he has super hearing, he doesn't notice the oncoming bus. The original had him acknowledging something approaching him. The animated movie explains that as he doesn't understand this new world, and the rain diffusing his hearing abilities. But still does he react to the truck. Not properly, but at least he tried to intimidate the truck with his guns. Yay, more Jumba and Pleakley scenes.
We're just cleaning it.
What is that?
You want something? We're just cleaning it, really.
The two aliens hide under a lot of clothes and Jumba's proportions do not align with his physique. Because the movie refuses to depict them undercover in these clothes but also won't show them in their CGI form, they add another new idea to the mix. The duo should not attract attention, so they have a device to copy DNA from two guys. They take it from one guy who resides at a hotel and a guy who works there, helping this guest with his golf clubs. Their master plan is now to head straight into the same hotel where this guest either resides right now or just checked out. The receptionist just needs to hear where they are from. They have no passports, no money, and one of them works here, which she acknowledges. They say they are from Earth, which is enough information for her. Right. Lazy writing at its best. She doesn't question anything but orders Jumba, now played by Zach Galifianakis, who reminded me of John Goodman in Big Lebowski, to get the baggage to the room. So there are now two identical employees running around. Does this ever come up in the movie? I mean, they would have a situation for wacky comedy scenes, but it's not in their interest, at least in this form. Galifianakis also plays his role so flat, which might be the way he has been directed, because his CG counterpart also seems so sleepy and disinterested. I understand that the disguises of Jumba and Pleakley work in animation but not in live action. However, it is still lame to turn them into humans. Gotta keep those CG shots low. Why don't you have them covered up in public and let them operate from the shadows? But if you really need to introduce some technical bullshit like the DNA assimilation device, why don't they use it to capture 626? They could have stolen the DNA from Nani, old lady neighbor, or the social worker to get closer to 626. But it's again not developed any further. But hey, There is another new technical bullshit addition. Jumba and Pleakley have a portal gun which can be used like the plot needs it to. Sometimes it just opens up a wall, sometimes it is used to create two intermeshing portals, sometimes you can create a portal wherever you'd like to, sometimes not. Why would they introduce this piece of technology? Because otherwise the whole ending would not be possible without gaining a depression. Back to Lilo. Lilo is so animal-friendly in this version, she frequently hangs out at the animal rescue. Old lady neighbor has to look after her while Nani is at work, but she lets Lilo go to the shelter. She's going to pick Lilo up later and won't let her go defenseless, so she gives her an air refresher. 626 and Lilo meet, because 626 needs a human shield for Jumba and Pleakley. Lilo wants to adopt him because 626 says hi and hugs Lilo.
Oh, how?
Wow.
Which kid wouldn't be impressed by that? In the remake, Lilo is screaming after 626 says hi and hugs him. Old lady neighbor arrives to the scene. She allows Lilo to adopt the dubious-looking creature because Lilo wants it. Lilo is not the first time here. I guess she would like to have an animal every time she visits the place. Old lady neighbor really is the neighbor you need. You tell her to look after your sibling and she gets her a dog. As if Nani doesn't have a say with this big decision. Thanks for nothing. But hold on, this whole operation was your idea. Not in this version. In the better movie, Nani went with Lilo to the shelter to adopt a dog, because she heard Lilo's wish the night before. Why would you take that away from the character and give it instead to this new one who doesn't need this bond with Lilo? Or does she? Nani is understandably furious because Lilo has a pet, which means more responsibility, to which this version of Nani seems to be not very fond of. In the animated movie, Lilo names him Stitch right there at the animal rescue, as she is adopting him, which is realistically necessary if not only for the paperwork in the process of adoption. But this somehow is not the case in the rehash. Lilo comes up with a name for him out of the blue after spending half a day together and announces her decision again through screaming. Lilo is assertive and thoughtful about the choice for the name in the original, but in the remake it just crosses her mind because the movie is not called Lilo and John Dogue. Jumba praises Stitch for the idea to hide behind Lilo so they can't get him, contrary to the first movie where Jumba despises him for this low move. Then we see Cobra Bubbles for the first time in the new movie. As said, he is from the CIA and doesn't look imposing enough. He should be towering over everybody else. Lilo and Stitch meet the girls from her hula dance lessons. She gets harassed by the blonde girl and her friend, while another girl accompanies them with her little electric kid car. Stitch commits GTA and is driving off with Lilo, similar to the scene where he steals the tricycle. The little kid car somehow has the power through a little tweak to drive comically fast. This is supposedly more believable than Stitch being the source of speed through his strength and stamina. Stitch is looking for big cities to destroy but somehow is unable to find them, although some establishing shots show us there is enough population and buildings to wreak havoc. Guess that's not good enough for him. In the first movie he cycles around with Lilo and always heads for another direction whenever he faces the sea. In the remake he gives up after the first sight of sea and takes Lilo's word for granted. Then a montage starts in the first version. Stitch is annoyed by his new role as a family pet, all to Jumba's amusement. But Stitch has to play along. Stitch is already the fish out of water. There is no need to expand on this with Jumba and Pleakley. They have repeatedly taken something away from a character, as Stitch has no problem at all to hang around with Lilo, enjoys his time and is having fun with her. They are in sync from the get-go, which takes away character development from both of them, to engage with each other and figure out what makes the other one tick. The two are continuing their shenanigans at the luau, where Nani is working. Stitch causes chaos for the sake of it and Nani gets fired. It happened again differently in the original movie. Jumba and Pleakley are present and set up a trap for Stitch. He fights back, causing attention to the people around them. That's the mayhem Stitch is indirectly responsible for, which causes Nani to lose her job as her dog attacked a customer. Nani takes accountability from Lilo away, because that's what a good custodian should do.
Did you lose your job because of Stitch and me?
Nah, the manager's a vampire, and he wanted me to join his Legion of the Undead.
I knew it.
She does it with charm, because original Nani would shield the problems away from Lilo as good as she can. New Nani can't hide the pain and won't deflect anything, so Lilo feels all the guilt. Chekhov's car won't start again, so Lilo reaches the jumper cable to Nani. Jumba and Pleakley arrive at the luau after Lilo, Nani and Stitch leave. Pleakley gets a call from the Grand Councilwoman and answers her in public, so her hologram appears. Pleakley. who has to keep Jumba in check so they won't gather too much attraction, speaks with their alien chef on his alien device, and all the people around can witness it. They really wrote him that dumb. At home, Stitch ruins the cleaned house. Thanks for the distressing creepy dog old lady neighbor. Nani is pissed and wants to take Stitch away. Lilo confronts Nani with Ohana. But in the new movie, this quick doesn't hit as hard and Stitch doesn't give a fuck. Unlike in the first movie where Stitch stops his behavior to listen to the explanation of Ohana. Ohana is presented as a valuable principle Nani and Lilo want to follow. But in the remake, Ohana is presented as not living in reality. Something unachievable, so don't bother trying. Deal with it, 6-year-old girl. That's a twisted message.
But what if this is Nani's perspective at the moment and she learns Ohana the way it was intended in the first movie? That's what her character arc could be.
Let's see how it unfolds in the end. Lilo and Stitch are in Lilo's room. Stitch does what he does and Lilo calms him down with a flower necklace. To be fair, I never truly understood why it stopped him then and there in the animated movie. But the new one may be implying he calms down because of the stupid electric collar before. The following scene is okay, but feels a bit undercooked. It's not as special as the first movie. They completely took the ugly duckling out of the story. Now through the ugly duckling does Stitch experience a change of heart, because he can't fulfill his designed purpose to destroy, and this story resonates with him as he feels lost, but could find his place within the family. He puts the pieces together by himself. In the reimagining, Lilo tells him about family, which could work, but again it's not as good or effective as done before. The next morning we get the LP joke, but in the recent iteration Nani doesn't witness what's happening, so it hasn't the same impact. Cobra Bubbles goes undercover as support for the social worker and successfully pulls her hair from Stitch to let the DNA be analyzed. He holds it directly into the camera and none of the other characters question why this new guy pulls the hair from the dog of the little girl. I mean, he doesn't even try to hide it. Anyway, the next montage starts. Nani is looking for a job. Lilo wants Stitch to lower his badness level. One of the things she teaches him is making amends. Stitch returns their electric kid car, which for some reason is now completely broken. But the real problem I have with this is he returns it to the blonde girl, as if she is the owner, but that wasn't the case. Blonde girl was walking and the girl with black hair was driving the electric kid's car. So it has to be owned by the girl with black hair. There are no other girls around, just the blonde, and Lilo even consoles her. Someone seriously fucked this up in the editing room. Did they just forget while shooting the scenes who this car belonged to? Or were there extra scenes who fell on the cutting room floor? Maybe they thought nobody would notice, but they are dead wrong. The better version ends the montage with Lilo and Nani both failing to achieve their goals. David comes by and notices the long faces. He suggests to surf together. It's a break from all the stress they endured, and we also get a glimpse of the family that's about to form. That's beautiful. Why would anyone change that? Stitch also notices this and desires to experience the same warmth and fun of a family. So he wants to surf together with them, even though water could be deadly for him. In the less thought out version, Nani gets a job as a surf teacher. Lilo and David surf because they have nothing better to do. Stitch wants to surf because he sees a dog on a surfboard. That's his motivation. He just got bored and wants some fun. He gets arm floats and surfs with Nani and Lilo. Jumba and Pleakley appear on a jet ski. Jumba attacks by shooting at Stitch's arm floats 2 times. If your aim is that good, why don't you shoot him directly? Jumba and Pleakley fail while Nani, Lilo and Stitch fall off the board. Lilo and Stitch are sinking. They both get rescued by Nani and David. Lilo is briefly unconscious. They get her to a hospital. The social worker arrives to the scene and Nani forgot to insure Lilo and herself. That's the payoff for that. Nani can't handle the tasks like cleaning the house and insure her sister and herself. If only there was someone who could have helped her with this. Speaking of the devil, old lady neighbor is also there. Now one could say Nani is too proud and doesn't want to share her problems. Furthermore, this lady doesn't know what she can do for Nani and respects boundaries. Oh well. That's the same person that repeatedly sneaks Nani's college admission into Nani's life, adopts a weird creature for her and preaches about how they are Ohana. She surely would be the kind of person who meddles in things that should not concern her. But she decides to be passive where she shouldn't be and active where she shouldn't be. The social worker recommends Nani to give up her guardianship and David says the following line in front of Stitch.
You know, I really believe they had a chance.
Stop. Nothing more. And then we are treated to another Jumba and Pleakley scene, where the Grand Councilwoman fires them both and Jumba goes his own way, trapping Pleakley in the process. Let's compare this again with the better movie. Cobra Bubbles has witnessed the situation and faces Nani with the facts. He declares to take Lilo away the next morning. Stitch is startled. He is confronted with his behavior and reflects about what he does, what he desires, and if he is able to not destroy after all. Is he responsible for the breakup of this family happening before him? Then David says the line, which is a bit different than in the remake.
You know, I really believed they had a chance. Then you came along.
Oof, that hits differently. Stitch gets the confirmation out of this line that he is in fact to blame. He doubts that he will be able to have a family. In the remake, Nani basically tells Lilo Stitch is the culprit of destroying the family. He hears that from above. Nani can't handle the situation and swings into the hammock. Lilo wants to cheer her up. She seems to care more about Nani's well-being than the other way around. Stitch decides to leave them, but the remake does a piss-poor job of letting us understand why he suddenly feels that way. These are the moments where I think they assume everybody has seen the original beforehand anyway. So why put in the effort? It is shown to Stitch that he is responsible for the fallout in the original. Lilo explains Ohana to Stitch and tells him he can be part of the family if he chooses to. But if he wants to leave, he can leave. She will always remember him though, because she remembers everyone who leaves. Stitch thinks they are far better without him, and leaves with the ugly duckling under his arm. Back to the real life one. In the next morning, Nani awaits the social worker and Cobra. They wait for Nani to open Lilo's door. Can't you wait in the goddamn living room? She didn't even have breakfast, but has to learn immediately after waking up that she will be snatched away from her last remaining family member. Oh snap! Lilo is not there. She's looking for Stitch, who kindly left enough marks on the trees on his way because otherwise Lilo wouldn't be able to track him. She finds him at the animal shelter where locked doors are unknown. Lilo doesn't understand why Stitch wants to leave, so he flat out tells her, "Stitch bad." She says Ohana isn't always perfect and they cuddle, but get interrupted by Jumba. The animated movie lets Lilo know why Stitch wants to leave and accepts it. She tells Nani in the morning he left. Nani instantly switches from her sorrow to protector mode and tries to explain through Lilo's Stitch situation their own. David knocks on the door and tells Nani he might have a job for her. Nani leaves Lilo and instructs her to not open the door for anyone. As she leaves, Stitch comes back and tries to hide behind Lilo, but Jumba informs him about his firing so he won't hold back anymore. The remake starts the whole Jumba confrontation at the animal shelter. Jumba has the best intuition one could strive for, because why the fuck does he know exactly where Stitch currently is? He uses the portal gun to get there, which can again open up a portal wherever the plot needs it to. This device has no consistency. Bear in mind the portal gun can magically bring Jumba where he wants to be. He came not from the outside, because first the doors are not locked, and second, as the other side of the portal shows us, he used it from another room, presumably the hotel room. So he gently waited the whole time because these aforementioned scenes needed to happen. Otherwise the movie would make even less sense. But this also doesn't make sense, so why don't you do it like in the original? Jumba and Pleakley are fired, and Jumba wastes no time and immediately heads for Stitch. That makes sense. But this movie hopes you forgot the last Jumba and Pleakley scene already, and I can understand it because it is really forgettable. Stitch traps Jumba in a portal loop, and he and Lilo get back home. The adults are searching for Lilo, but they somehow didn't cross paths with her and Stitch as they went back home. Although we see Cobra Bubbles had to be on their trail as he sees a tree with Stitch's marks on it. But they are not allowed to run into him, so they took another route home, I guess. Old lady neighbor helps Cobra, which further confirms my suspicion she's there to snatch Lilo away. Jumba gets out of the portal loop by deactivating his human form, so he gets stuck and stops falling infinitely. Lilo calls a pizza delivery service for help because that's the only number available to her. That's the call she made originally to Cobra Bubbles. You know, the call which was set up before and affected the plot. Jumba arrives at the house, who also didn't run into any of the searching adults and now has a space gun with him, which he gets through the magic of editing. As in the original, a fight ensues. Pleakley arrives and scares Lilo, so she sprays the mouth refreshing spray into Pleakley's face. See, this movie also has clever setups and payoffs. Pleakley's human form gets sprayed away in the area the spray hits him. So what now? Is it a human form or a disguise layered around their alien form? It's also inconsistent just for the sake of this spray gag. If it's a disguise, Jumba wouldn't have been able to fall in the portal loop before. So why does it show us the alien self is underneath the human form? Another creative decision that hasn't been thought through to maintain consistency. Because who needs consistency in movies anyways? You gotta lower your expectations for this $100 million production. What did you say? It's one of the cheapest live-action remakes? So they really had no faith in this project and wanted to dump it on Disney+. That explains the low effort they put into this production.
I don't know if Disney wants me to say this. We shot most of it at Epcot Center. The Hawaiian wing.
Disney has no interest to tell good stories anymore. Now, if you think they were always chasing the mighty dollar, that's right. But back in the old days, they gave creatives room and time to create something unique and letting their visions become reality, besides wanting to make a fortune. Just like the original Lilo Stitch, a passion project with a lot of heart in it and a story that people wanted to tell. These live-action projects just feel soulless because in the beginning nobody forms the idea of this story in their head and has the urge to tell it. They just get hired. As long as it's not as catastrophically as Snow White, families are going to watch these cynical turds. Anyway, the house gets destroyed in the process of the fight. Jumba spills the beans about Stitch being with Lilo for self-preservation. Jumba convinces Stitch to go with him and opens a portal to the spaceship. Lilo also gets into the spaceship through the same portal, but neither Jumba nor Stitch notice this. Now instead of Lilo being rescued by Stitch, the roles are reversed. Lilo is going to rescue him. Jumba goes full megalomaniacal villain because Gantu is not here as an obstacle. The adults arrive back home and meet Pleakley. Cobra reveals he is a CIA agent. They learn through Pleakley that Lilo is on the spaceship and flies away. So they convince Cobra Bubbles to stop his mission and let them chase Lilo. Jumba is kinda stupid again and won't fly the spaceship up and away, but only slowly gains altitude because again the movie would derail too much from the skeleton of the original. Stitch and Lilo defeat Jumba. Stitch detaches the glass capsule where he was held captive and now the air pulls Jumba out. He's stuck again, but Lilo apparently knows how to handle the DNA device and turns Jumba into Secalifianakis so he gets sucked out. That means Lilo and Stitch now have to find a way to fill this hole so they won't get sucked out. Don't worry, it's no problem at all anymore. Although they nearly got sucked out merely seconds before, they calmly stand at the opening without any struggle now. Nani and the side characters are following the spaceship signal. With 3 cars, Cobra Bubbles with Nani and Pleakley in his car, Old Lady Neighbor with hers, and last but not least David with Nani's car. David could logically sit in Old Lady Neighbor's car, but how on earth would Nani's car get to the climax of the movie in this case? It has to be there, damn it! Don't you underestimate the importance of the car? Lilo and Stitch contemplate about jumping out of the spaceship, and I'm not an expert, but I think Lilo's hair is blowing in the wrong direction. It should go the opposite way. You know, the way where the air goes out, but then we wouldn't be able to see her face. In one shot, Stitch's ears and Lilo's hair even go into the opposite directions. The ship crashes into the ocean. And she's dead. I mean, she should be. Though logic and general physics shall be damned, she survived. But she's stuck underwater under some wreckage of the ship. How this could happen without her getting harmed in any way should be anyone's guess. Stitch helps Lilo out and sacrifices himself in the process. Nani rescues Stitch. She can't swim to the surface with him as he is too heavy, so she runs on the seafloor with Stitch in her hands back to land. You see, through a photo from Lilo we got the information that Nani used to do underwater rock running, which is an actual training method for surfer. That's cool and nice, and I wish we could have learned more about it. But the problem is the average distance for advanced people who run underwater with a heavy rock is around 130 feet, or 40 meters. And as some shots suggest, Nani runs way more than that. Either Nani is a real beast in this iteration, or this problem gets solved through the magic of editing. Nani gets Stitch out of the water, but he's unconscious. David tries to defibrillate Stitch, but Pleakley says they need more power. Lilo has a sparking idea and gets the jumper cables. They apply it on Nani's car battery. Nani hopes her car will start, and thankfully it does so. Stitch gets revived, and oh my god, that is the reason they introduced the car not starting 2 times and the jumper cables. That's why David drove the car, to let it fulfill its destiny to awaken the merchandise beast. I mean, they could have used one of the 2 other cars right next to this one, which aren't having any problems to start, but then we wouldn't get the forced fake suspense. Truly genius, it all makes sense. Thank god they upgraded the story with a car. I promised you it was key. The Grand Councilwoman arrives and induces Stitch's arrest. They apply their alien handcuffs on Stitch, but only for 2 hands. In the original movie they applied it to all 4 hands he has, but in this movie they kinda forgot about it. If he still was a destroying little lunatic, he could escape if he decides to, as he is not fully immobilized. Why is the Galactic Federation so stupidly incompetent here? Anyway, the better movie has the Grand Councilwoman here 626 has a name, and lets her recognize he has a family. She can see the change. As she hoped in the beginning, there is good in him, but she has to follow their laws. How does the situation get solved? You see, Lilo adopted Stitch, so she officially owns him. If they are taking him away, they would steal. Cobra Bubbles suggests this loophole for Lilo, and the Grand Councilwoman can now operate within the guidelines. Stitch is able to stay on Earth. The remake has the Grand Councilwoman not specifically emoting to the new information about Stitch. She just seems irritated. Nevertheless, is she not very fond of the idea to let Stitch stay on Earth, and the Council wouldn't be pleased by this decision. Additionally, she doesn't want a global panic on Earth because of Stitch's presence. How does this version solve the situation? Cobra Bubbles is from the CIA. The Grand Councilwoman knows he has to report the incident to his management. But Cobra Bubbles shakes the Grand Councilwoman's hand, gives her the Puss in Boots eyes, and promises he won't tell anyone. And that's it. I'm not kidding you. He gives her his word and is really super duper serious about it to keep it a secret. That's all it takes to change her mind. So Stitch can stay happy and right? Well, their house is destroyed, and unlike in the animated movie, where Cobra Bubbles grasps that Nani cannot be held responsible for aliens destroying her home, the social worker here still insists after some counseling with old lady neighbor that Lilo should be separated from her. Oh, maybe she doesn't know the situation at hand. Well, old lady neighbor calls out Stitch as an alien in front of her, just to get a chuckle out of the audience. But don't worry, dear viewer, the social worker and old lady neighbor have a plan. Old lady neighbor and David adopt Lilo so Nani can go to college. Nani hesitates, but then Lilo urges her to go and thus gives Nani her blessing to leave her behind. But Nani would never leave Lilo. This wouldn't make any sense. Their relationship is one of the strongest family bonds from any sort of Disney movie. Well, fuck you and your outdated perspective of family. Nani not only leaves Lilo to study marine biology, she could study in Hawaii but decides against it. She studies abroad in San Diego. Cause if you leave your sister and run away from responsibilities, you gotta kick into high gear. Are you kidding me? But don't worry, their house gets rebuilt and Nani visits Lilo with the portal gun, which has been found unscathed out of the crashed spaceship and is still working. Okay, 2 things. First, why the actual fuck didn't they use the portal gun to leave the spaceship without any trouble? The super intelligent creature hasn't thought about this possibility? Alright. This whole portal gun nonsense wasn't there in the original and creates a lot more plot contrivances in the process. This could have easily been avoided, so why did they introduce this gadget? Because, second, they really wanted Nani to go to college in the end, but knew this could be perceived as problematic if she abandons Lilo and has no contact to her whatsoever. Luckily, she has a portal gun and can visit her whenever she feels like it. Interestingly, she stays in San Diego and visits Lilo, but it could have been the other way around. Nani could stay at home with Lilo and portal to her college to attend classes. But you see, in this version, Nani has to think about herself first and should not be bothered with nuisances like her sister. I'm not saying family, because in the epilogue we learn she and David start dating. This movie wants to have its cake and eat it too.
It's just a level of bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
Ohana means family. Family means nobody
gets left behind
or forgotten.
How could you fuck up this message? In the original, Nani has trouble to care for her sister, but she does not give up, and in the end, it paid off. The original movie also hinted at Nani having a surfing career she liked to pursue. We see a few prizes and trophies in her bedroom. But this never became an obstacle to look after her little sister. She really tried her best to be there for Lilo and make her life better during a hard time. She tried her best to shield it away from Lilo so she would not be concerned. The idea for a dog came up to her to bring back a little joy into Lilo's life as she heard her wish to the falling star. She was heartbroken upon the idea she would lose Lilo, her only remaining family member. No one should be left behind or forgotten. All of that wasn't conveyed in the remake. In the new movie, they wanted Nani to leave Lilo for college and tried to manipulate the viewer into thinking it is okay, because Nani is reluctant to study. She doesn't want it. She has to be there for Lilo, which comes off as burdensome. She is not capable to care for her as she herself is too young to look after a child. She has to focus on herself first and foremost. But thankfully everyone else wants her to go to college and pressures her to do it. Thankfully old lady neighbor will care for Lilo. Thankfully Lilo the 6-year-old gives Nani permission to go. Because if she has no problem with that, either shouldn't we. You see? They try to trick you into thinking it is okay to justify Nani rather going on an ego trip than taking responsibility for her remaining and in the end extending family. Ohana means if you stand in my way, you are not my business anymore. As a character, Lilo is better off than Nani, but only because she just acts as a conduit for the kids' demographic and has to move the plot forward. She lacks character compared to the original. She is an unconventional kid, yes, but not nearly are they embracing why others could perceive her as weird, which isolates her from her peers. I don't buy it here as much because the movie doesn't take the effort to show her weird side enough. They just want to bring her together with Stitch as quickly as possible. Speaking of, the whole relationship between Lilo and Stitch wasn't great from the beginning. Stitch played along first and hated his current situation to hang out with Lilo, but then really gained a new perspective on his life through her and changed. A character arc, if you will. The new movie has Lilo and Stitch getting along almost immediately. There is no friction between them. Stitch himself is also less interesting. He is lunatic but not diabolical. He doesn't have a high level of badness, but is only ill-behaved. He's just there for gags and to be cute, but also lacks character compared to the original. If the animated movie is not in your head and you watch this new version first, I don't know if every point is made clear and established enough, as the original did with its characters. I can see people falling in love with this movie if they don't already have the original back in their mind. But I guess this could apply to all Disney live-action remakes. Stitch is allowed to be chaotic, but has to remain funny and cute. Now he is a brand for Disney and they want to protect him. So no taking risks. Stitch as a brand is now arguably even more popular with the current generation of kids than old Mickey Mouse himself. You could even detect his silhouette the same way as recognizing Mickey's.
Psych!
That's from Trolls. But my point stands. There are so many products with his face slapped on it and this movie is no exception. Just a commissioned product with Stitch's face slapped on it. Thanks for watching.